Piel Canela family, I am thrilled to be doing an additional stream today because we are heading into an interview with none other than our guest instructor for this couple of weeks. August 22nd and August 29th, we have Djoniba Mouflet of the Djoniba Dance Center doing African dance workshops. You're going to have an opportunity to learn about African dance, about Afro-Pop, about Afro-House, and Afro-Beats. So it's going to be an amazing 2 Monday workshop on August 22nd and 29th. And for those of you that don't know what African dance is, I have none other than Mr. Djoniba himself. So let's go ahead and give a big welcome to Big Piel Canela. Welcome to Mr. Djoniba.
Yo,
All
yo,
right,
what's
so
up?
there he is. There he is. There he is. Welcome, Djoniba. As I mentioned a few
Thank
seconds
you.
ago, we are thrilled and excited to have a 2 week workshop with you on
So
August
am I.
22nd and August 29th to basically give exposure to African dance. And we're talking many different styles, guys. We're talking about Afro pop, Afro house, Afro dance, Afro beats, all with Djoniba Mouflet of the Djoniba Dance Center. So, Djoniba, go ahead and introduce yourself to the Piel Canela universe.
Hola, Piel Canela. How you guys doing? Well, I'm thrilled to be here with my friend Joe. That we've known each other a long time, and and yeah, I mean, my name is Djoniba Mouflet. And yeah, I've been doing this for a minute.
Let's talk about the Djoniba Dance Center. A lot of people don't know about the dance center. It's been around for a very long time, educating people about African dance, African history, African culture. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Djoniba Center, I opened back then. African dance was not really respected as a dance form, and street dance either. So when you would go to, I was a dancer at ballet, modern, Martha Graham. I was a dancer at Dance Theater of Harlem in the second company,
Hmm.
and also a student there. And that was my first when I first came to this country. So I said, listen, I'm coming from Africa and I can teach also, even though I'm a student. So they gave me a spot to teach African dance, and they loved it. But back then, African dance was not taught in most places. Either Frank Hatchett Studio, which was called Frank Hatchett, which is now called BDC, either Steps. None of the studios were really offering African dance. The most you would find would be Dunham class, which was the closest to African because it was Dunham and because it was using modern dance, and it was more like, okay, this is a real dance form because it's using some African movements and with ballet. And so it was, Dunham was offered at Alvinelli and all these different schools. And I realized, I was like, because I had a ballet training as well as modern and African dance, because I did the National Ballet of Guinea, in Senegal, did many ballets, and I knew the power and strength of everything coming from Africa, but African descent in general, meaning Africa, Cuba, Haiti, everything, Brazilian dance. And I was like, you guys don't get it. I love ballet, but you don't know the power of what this is offering as a dance form. You cannot be a ballet dancer, and just because you're a ballet dancer, you can just say, oh, I can do salsa, oh, I can do African. No, you can't. Sorry, but you can't.
Correct.
You have to have a certain train, you have to have a certain soul, a certain groove, a certain other form of techniques that's beyond doing a spin and beyond doing a turn with your head spinning this way. That is a different technique coming from inside out, So and I knew right there was a problem here. So I said, you know what, I have to open a school that is going to showcase, promote, um, the art of dance originating from Africa. When I say originating, meaning from Africa or from the Caribbean, from Puerto Rico, from Dominican Republic, from Brazil, anything that is African derived forms of dance, right? So that's when I, spoke to all my friends. Back then I was really poor. I just got in this country, save every dollar, save every dollar I had, and I spoke to to my friends, you know, who were willing to, they were like, yeah, you know, and back then I started teaching and my classes were really popular because the good thing is I was an African dancer. I could teach African dance, but I had this ballet methodological of teaching that helped me understand what's a breakdown of a movement. How do you break down so people can actually get it, you know? And I was lucky enough to have an amazing teacher in Africa. I mean, she was from the Bolshoi in from
Mm.
Russia, right? Yeah, in
Wow.
Africa.
Okay.
And both teachers, he was a soloist in the Bolshoi, and she was, and they gave me the foundation to be a good teacher because they were amazing teacher. Like within 2-3 years, I could do spins and like you know, when people saw me doing ballet, they couldn't believe I just been doing ballet for 3 years, you know. So I took that and then transferred it into African dance in terms of how do I teach people to let go of the stiffness in ballet or modern, and how to reach out to their inner soul and their inner groove, you know. How do you express emotion when you do dance on rhythm? How do you stay on rhythm? How do you sync your body to the rhythm, to the drum beats? And to the drum beats, meaning to any rhythm, to any music, because in every music you have drums, except classical music. But you talk salsa, anything else, he has a beat, he has a rhythm, he has a groove. So it's also that technique of learning how to sync your body completely to the music, so you and the music form one. So you are not on top of the music or underneath, but you're with the music. Your body becomes an instrument. Your body becomes music by itself, because
Mhm.
and the groove by itself, right? So anyway, so going back to, that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to open the school. So my class was doing well. I had so many people, and all my students like, you should open your studio, because I used to have 80 students per class, sometimes 90 students per class. It was a lot of people. And so I said, okay, you know, let me, you know, you guys are willing to help me, support me. So my students, they were behind me. um, Black, white, blue, yellow, everybody, you know, everybody came in, chipped in, helped in. And yeah, and then I found a space after a year. I mean, back then racism was very high in New York City still. And so for a black person to open a business, like you know, after 1 year of looking for space, I would find a space, and then when I would go, they would say I'm black, and they would say, oh, sorry, the space is not available, you know, anymore. So I came up with a technique where I said, because my last name sounds French, so I would go and say, oh, my name is Djoniba Mouflet. I'm here representing Mr. Djoniba. And that's how I found a space, you know.
Okay. Okay.
And then the day of the closing, and they were like, wait a minute, aren't you John? Where's Mr. Mouflet? I'm like, okay, well, I'm Djoniba Mouflet. I'm both John and Mr. Mouflet. And but it was too late because you had lawyers there, so they couldn't back up, you know. Anyway, so that's a little side story for
That's
for,
great.
for
That's
the fun for the for and so so we signed, and I got a beautiful space right on Union Square, right on 18th Street, and with a view of Union Square. But back then, Union Square was drug infested. Like nobody
yeah.
would go to Union Square.
Right.
It was downtown was, you know, really 42nd, 59 was the place, and then Union Square, nobody would go there. So, you know, I saw the future coming in there, and I said, okay, I'll take this space. And then with friends, I built a space myself. You know, I built a space. I'd learned some construction because I was, you know, as a dancer, you know, it was hard to live, so I found construction work and things like, you know, I was good with my hands, and I applied those things that I learned. And I had a few friends in the construction. I was like, yo, you come in, you will teach me, I can learn fast. And then, hey, you know, we build a space ourselves. And then that's history. And then Djoniba Center turned from 2-3 years of very hard work and very like difficult years, and then it turns into, finally people start recognizing African dance, and then it became a big thing. And then everybody coming to the US would come to my school first. So from Brazil, from Cuba, from Haiti, from anywhere, they would come and, you know, to me. And then, you know, so I would always give them a chance to teach. And that's how we built Djoniba Center. And African dance really became a major African, not just African, because in my school we used to have salsa. We used to have editores teaching there. We used to have all the oldies taught at my school. I forget this guy's name, but he's, I think he, but anyway, all the legend from back then, they taught, because we were the only one really, saying, oh, the door is open, and the school was big. We had 4 studios. It was 10,000 square feet. I had a recording studio. So it was really, like it had the feeling of a real school like Alvinelli or Steps. So we had that crowd coming in. And so, yeah, I mean, it took off, and then Djoniba Center turned, all those dance forms into mainstream, into finally all the dance schools all over the United States today are offering African dance and salsa and everything else. I mean, I'm not gonna take credit for, because salsa was already there, offered a little bit, but it was not as mainstream. Like, we really pushed the mainstream of African dance and promoting, and then every year we had a huge performance in a theater, where every performance we had salsa, we had all the different art forms that we would offer. And it became something big until Alvinelli actually came to my school and said, we know that you cannot teach because you have to direct your school and you're busy, but we would love for if you can recommend us to one of your teachers. So that's when I recommended Maguette Camara, who was the first teacher at Alvinelli teaching African dance at Alvinelli. And then when I closed my school in 2008, like all my teachers, all my staff, they were hired by Alvinelli. So it tells you the trajectory of how we built the foundation. And then, it was great because we had made a name for all these teachers all these years, 15 years. And then Alvinelli just came and it was great because they gave them the opportunity to continue when I decided that I would take a break and not reopen my school after the 2008 economic crash down, where I decided, you know what, it's time for me to step back. I've been doing this nonstop. And yeah, let me take a break. And then I did a partnership with Perry Dance Capizio Center. I mean, they're not Capizio anymore, but Perry Dance Center with Igal, who called me and said, hey, listen, if you need a space, because we were on the news, and it was kind of a big deal that we were closing. And so, then we did a partnership with Perry Dance, who welcomed our school in their school. So right now we have Djoniba Center. Perry Dance is housing our dance school in their school. So we don't work for Perry Dance. We are a partnership. So we have our own insurance. We have our own, advertising. We have our own machine going on. But we are located at Perry Dance for the time being. And now we're gonna be at Piel Canela after all this time, and we're finally doing it, right?
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the history of the Djoniba Dance Center with Mr. Djoniba Mouflet himself.
Thank you.
I want to remind you guys, if you're watching this is one amazing Piel Canela interview. And we want to remind everybody that Djoniba himself will be teaching a 2-week workshop, guys, on Monday, August 22nd and August 29th. On August 22nd,
right.
We're looking at Afro-Beats and Afro-Dance. On August 29th, we're looking at Afro-House and Afro-Pop. Both of these 4 workshops can be bought for one package price of $80. Or if you just want to take one of them, it's $25 each. But I would sign up for all of it because the value is definitely there. You just heard how many years the Djoniba Dance Center has been in existence. So all of that experience, all of that knowledge is what Djoniba is bringing with him on August 22nd and August 29th. But let's take a few minutes to talk about you, Djoniba. How did you get started in dance? What was your first spark? Did you come from a family of dancers, or how did you encounter dance for the very first time?
So I never encountered dance. Actually, I was a soccer player.
Wow. Okay.
Soccer was my thing. I was like deep down in soccer, doing tournaments and actually really advancing far in soccer. And guitar. My uncle was playing guitar, so one day I saw him playing guitar, and I was like, "Oh, I love this," And then so I started playing guitar, and my thing was like I wanted to be a soccer player who can play guitar and sing. That was my thing. and and so after soccer practice, one day I decided, okay, I'm going to start taking guitar seriously because I was pretty advanced in soccer. So I said, this is the one thing I want to work. I really want to get this, playing guitar. So I went to this cultural center in Martinique, and I was young, I was like, 12, 13 or something like this. I said, okay, I'm going to go and really practice my guitar now and sing. And so I went to this place and I heard the drums. I was like, oh, what is this? Drums, Africa. Because I'd read about Africa and all this. I was like, okay, let me go check it out. So I go to the class and I see this very pretty girl. I'm like, and she looks at me like, come on, come on. I'm like, okay, I'm coming, man. I'm coming, baby. So I went in the class and I started dancing, and I took the class because it was an open class, it was like a free open class. So I took the class, and after the class, everybody was like, wow, how long you been dancing? How long you been dancing? I'm like, never, I just danced today. But for some reason, I had an aptitude, a physical aptitude, usually, so I would learn sports very quickly. I was a fast runner, any sports, in sports class, I was amongst the best, in my school, handball, basketball, whatever, I was good with my body, moving body coordination. And when we used to have party in the family, I would start dancing and imitating what I saw on TV, and everybody would clear the floor and let me dance. But it was just fun, it was just for fun. So I think there was a little bit of like that natural ability to a coordination thing in my nature, in what God, my mother, and my dad gave me, So
So then how did it transition from that day to, ballet and taking classical forms of dance and eventually the rest of the African dances?
right. So I continued dancing in that school after, that beautiful, girl invited me. And then within 3 months, there was a performance, and the guys who were there dancing for like 2 years or whatever, I was chosen to be the soloist of the performance.
Wow.
And and I was like, and I felt like really at ease dancing. Like I could learn, literally, I could learn things super fast. Like I
Mhm.
could just boom, teacher would show it, I would learn it, and sometime he would make me demonstrate because I would add my own feeling to it, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, this is so easy. I love it how I can learn this fast. So I felt that call, like, I was like, I'm gonna continue this, I'm gonna continue this. And then I found out about this place in Africa, in Senegal, where they had a dance school called Mudra Afrique. So it was a dance school created by Maurice Béjart. Maurice Béjart is one of the iconic figure in dance in Europe. But his family roots was from Senegal, and he had opened a big school, a performing arts school in Senegal. And so, I'd found out about this, and they were offering everything: ballet, jazz, modern, African, music theory, singing, like everything. It was performing arts, right? So I started investigating about that school, and then I was given a scholarship. One of my teachers, that year, I spoke to him and he said, yeah, you should continue. You really got it. You should do this if you feel like you should do this. And I had family also from Senegal, from my mother's side. So I was like, okay, yeah, can you help me? And then the teacher helped me, and then I received a grant to go study, in Africa, and also visit my family, because I really wanted to go to also back to my roots, understand who I was. Also very young, I read a lot of books on, and very interested in culture and stuff, and Africa in general. So I said, yeah, I want to go there, and then so I went to that school, and I went from just doing, some African dance to have everything of it. So ballet, jazz, modern. So it was a school, full-time school. We would start at 8 a.m. and we would finish at 6 p.m. every day. And then because I love this so much, and I guess I'm a perfectionist by nature, I would want to practice even more. So I would, after my classes, my ballet
Wow.
teacher from the Bolshoi wanted to coach me. So we would stay 2 hours and he would teach me spins and he would teach me all kind of things in ballet. And then I would go again and dance traditional African dance with a traditional dance company, from Senegal. So I dance nonstop, and and I would go to the club with my friends after, and dance, and so very young.
It's
Senegal
good.
is open, so
It's good to be young. It's good to be young,
yeah.
guys. Once again, you're listening to a Piel Canela interview with none other than Djoniba Mouflet, director of the Djoniba Dance Center. I want to remind you that we have the privilege of having Mr. Djoniba at our school on August 22nd and Monday, August 29th for an amazing set of workshops that cannot be missed, guys. Come and check out AfroBeats, Afro Dance, Afro-House, Afro-Pop on these
African.
2 Monday dance, just a lot of African dance. It's just an immersion program. All workshops package for $80, or you can buy each workshop for just 25. And again, we've been listening to the beginnings of not only Djoniba Dance Center, but the beginnings of a very young Djoniba himself, being influenced by beautiful women to take
That's right.
on the dance floor. Djoniba, before we finish our first segment, can you tell us a little bit more about the workshops themselves, what you're planning on covering, how you conduct them, and the differences in each one of the dance styles?
Yes, so the foundation for everything is traditional African dance with live drumming, which it's very important to understand all dance, not all dance form, but dance form like salsa. Like Eddie Torres always send people to me, Joe always sends people to me, say, go take some African dance. So it's as a foundation, because like just in the salsa you have the clave, which is ta 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 ting 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 ting. So in African you have a ting 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 ting. So you see it went from ten 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 to ten 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 ten. You say it's very similar, right? So it tells you the origin of the clave in salsa. So that's why I like the African dance is going to cover, what's the essence of a groove, and how do you fall on the drum, and how the drum speaks to you, and it translates to salsa, and how you have to allow your body to become part of that drum, and part of that clave, part of that that salsa music, part of African dance. So that's the interesting part about the traditional African dance class I will be teaching.
And it can be applied. The good thing is that it can be applied to any of the derivatives of African dancing, right? Because
Exactly.
African dancing, again, for everybody who is
Yeah.
taking salsa, cumbia, samba, cha cha cha, song, anything that derived from that, right?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
its
And
origin. So these movements, the groove, the timing, the
yeah.
feeling, the culture behind it, okay, all
Exactly.
of that will influence your dancing. So if you are a salsero, a bachatero, a merenguero, any kind of those dances, you have to take this workshop because it will benefit you to know the origins of those beats, the origin of the rhythms, and the movement that also influence what we now know as these modern day dances.
Right. And same with like house dance is the same. House dance is, I remember back then when I saw house dance coming on the scene, a lot of the dancers from house, they would come to take my class, and I would go to the club at Limelight, at Nails, called Nails back then.
You're
And we
dating
would
yourself. You're dating yourself.
and I used to actually do some African dance and on the house, and the guys were like, "Yo, what is this?" And then so even in house dance, a lot of the steps there, they come from African dance. And when you see break dancing is the same, like how they form the circle. It is based on a lot of the capoeira. How the capoeirista used to do all these spins on their head and all this stuff, and break dance. So the kids in the Bronx, they saw that and they translated with their music back then. So as it really, the origin of so many things come from the African roots. So that's the African dance. And then you have today you have Afrobeats, which is a song very popular, Joanna. And now you hear a lot of the music in in Latin music that very much sound like Afrobeats as well. Several, many of the songs I hear.
Yeah,
So
many of the songs that are currently by, leading modern artists have
yes,
a backbeat, in the background
backbeats,
that
right?
is really African beats. It's
Yes,
not, it's not nothing different than
yep.
that. And they're
And
just,
it's very much Afrobeats too, right? It's very much
yeah,
Afrobeats.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
So that's gonna be the African dance class. Then the Afrobeats class, which is Afrobeats is, I would say, is more, I call it the hip hop of Africa. It's just like the hip hop culture here, but from Africa. So it's really the club scene in Africa. With everything like you see in the music video from here is the same thing, same idea, same feeling of the urban youth just like expressing themselves other than traditional dance. And a lot of the Afrobeats movements and dance are created by traditional dancers who are very good at dancing, and they see anything on the music videos from here and they imitate it but with their own flavor essentially. So then you turn something that's from here into their own Afrobeats. So I'll teach the syllabus of Afrobeats and the different signature moves in Afrobeats, that you can see on YouTube. By the way, it's a good way to go on YouTube and enter Afrobeats with S, and I'll explain the difference with Afrobeat without S and with S when in class. Enter that, and then you see the difference between traditional African dance, West African dance, and Afrobeat. So you can see the difference. It's very quick. And then you have Afro-House, which is house dance but with some African flavor. More African flavor than just house, right? So you have pure house, and then you have Afro-House, and then Afro-Pop is like a mix of everything. Just have fun, on the beats, right?
Awesome, awesome. So again, guys, you are listening to Piel Canela interview with Djoniba Mouflet of the Djoniba Dance Center, who has so graciously accepted an invitation to our school to come and teach for 2 Mondays, August 22nd and August 29th, guys. Sign up for all 4 workshops for a cost of $80. Save yourself some money. Or if you don't have the time, you can go ahead and just sign up for one for $25. On
Yeah.
August 22nd, he will be teaching Afro Beats at 7:30 and Afro Dance at 8:30. On August 29th, Afro-House at 7:30 and Afro-Pop at 8:30. These are open level workshops. They're meant for everyone. These
Yeah.
workshops, you can go ahead and sign up by registering at our website, pielcaneladancers.com. And we're going to cut this first session of our interview right here because I know there's so much more to talk about, so much more knowledge to go ahead and give. So join us in the second part of our interview coming up next.
Yeah.